Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar today. Thank you for joining us. We will be covering the topic Data Management Simplified, introducing D&B Connect. On the agenda today, we are very excited to be, diving into the current market for data management, and then we will be going over best practices for how to prepare, organize, and sustain your data management practices. After that, we will be jumping into Dun Bradstreet's newest product, D&B Connect, to give you an overview of the functionality and features. At the end, we will have time for questions and answers. So throughout the presentation, please feel free to drop them into the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. For our speakers today, we are very happy to be joined by Michele Goetz, who is the VP Principal Analyst at Forrester, as well as Dennis Olje, who is the VP of Product Marketing at Dun Bradstreet. So welcome, Michele and Dennis.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Good to be here, Maggie. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
Wonderful. And with that, Dennis, I will let you take it from here. Thank you.
Thank you, Maggie, and thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Really happy to have everyone on the line to provide our perspectives on the importance of data management in today's day more than ever. As we all know, data change is constant, and keeping up with the change is probably more difficult now than it's ever been before, just given the MarTech complexity, the amount of platforms that is collecting data on your customers and your prospects, and the dynamic nature of business today, right? And in fact, in the next 60 minutes, about 190 addresses will change, 300 CEO changes will occur, around 690 businesses will open their doors, and in the next year, this translates to about 4% of all addresses changing in your database, 5% of all your telephone numbers changing, and 3% of all ownership changing at your accounts. So keeping up with this change is really important to help engage your customers in the best way possible. And we believe that these data issues in your systems of record really create indecision and a lack of action, slowing down your business processes, right? So all the activity and intelligence you're collecting on your customers and your prospects is in your system of record, but you need to start building some insights on top of that data, right? Making decisions on that data. And if you don't have a trusted foundation, making those decisions becomes more difficult than before. And ultimately, you want to start engaging your customers and prospects in their buyer journey to help bring awareness of your offerings and how you can solve their problems. So not having that solid foundation for data really slows down all the rest of the activities that are part of your go-to-market process. So data really is your doorway to insights and growth. And we validated this in our research study that we conduct every year. This year, we actually surveyed about 500 B2B decision makers across the US, Canada, and the UK. And we asked them a series of questions around data management and what is the definition of data quality. But one of the statistics really stood out to us more than the others. One of them was around all of the companies that invested in B2B data quality in their systems of record also reported to us performance gains that they've got in their business versus everyone that actually decreased investment or deprioritized data quality in their organization didn't note any significant performance gains. So we felt that this was a very stark contrast and just illustrated the importance of data as a growth driver for a business. So with that, I'm gonna transition it over to Michele Goetz, who will give us her perspective on the importance of data management and how to implement it in your organization. So Michele, take it away.
Thank you, Dennis. So, what Dennis was pointing out was really important. Your data is constantly changing because your business is always on the move. And so one of the things that we really need to consider here is that we need to see our business and our customers through our data. So how do you get from the data world where everything is all, nodes and edges and data elements and attributes and primary keys and foreign keys and all the wonderful things that we do to architect data for our systems to actually seeing who our customers are so we can engage with our customers, we can generate value from our customers, and our customers will come back to us. I want you to kind of put a new belief system around your data. When we talk about getting to simple, we should be acting in a easy manner. It should feel natural to what we're doing. We need to stop overcomplicating our data quality and data management capabilities. Just really put it in context of what are you trying to achieve. So I'm going to give you 3 simple steps to get to data simple. We're going to prepare, we're going to organize, and we're going to sustain our data. So let's dive down into each one of these and start with prepare. When we're talking about customers, whether they're consumer customers or whether they're business customers or whether they're the contacts that we're going to engage with, you really need to know who they are, what they look like. It's not just grabbing a whole bunch of data. It's to say, am I who I say I am? So what type of identity information is helping us to really decipher who it is on the other side of our digital engagement? What point of view can be trusted? I come to the table every single day with different opinions and different perspectives on how I might be using different products and services. Your customers do that too. And as they engage and tell you what they liked and what they disliked, you kind of have to come from the point of reference of where they're at. You also have to recognize what are the feedback and social systems, frameworks for helping you to understand and introduce that information, and how do they help to either validate or not validate that a product or service was used. You want to be able to be there to where that conversation is happening and to decipher what that language is. It doesn't always look the way that we think a language should look like. How do you know what's true? What are the facts? And, just because somebody says something online doesn't necessarily mean that it's true online. We hear everything about the fake news today, but we're always trying to share our points of view and opinions, and being able to decipher between fact and opinion is something that's going to be really critical. And that means you need a single source of truth or a power in many. So really understand and interpret, is it just one individual's point of view and how you should engage with them? Or are you looking holistically at your segment, at your market, at your partners, in order to really understand, is this collectively what your market and your customers are telling you, or is it just the one or the few that are trying to lead you in a different direction? Which do you want to do? And then lastly, what identity do you engage with? Everybody comes online with different objectives. Sometimes you're shopping for Christmas, which is coming up soon. Other times you're behind a costume at Halloween. Sometimes you're actually making business purchases or you're negotiating transactions. So really understanding and interpreting what the objective is behind, and the force behind why decisions are being made, or what that customer journey is coming from, is going to make the difference. And all the data needs to be brought in and dealt with in a contextual manner, so you understand what is your belief system for your customer. Next, you have to obviously master this multiple personality disorder that is coming out of that. It's easy to think about what information should I be collecting, or what information is available to me to collect, but orienting that and bringing that together from different customer journeys, different business processes, different transactional cases is going to be very difficult. And you need some mechanism to sort of synthesize, harmonize, and orchestrate the data to fit the particular needs of the customer, but also your needs, so that you're coming together in a very personalized one-on-one perspective, rather than just blasting out your brand and your communication and your value proposition, being unique to your customer. So mastering multiple personality disorder from all of those challenges is going to be where you want to go. And then lastly, consider what your master data options are. This is really important. This goes back down to thinking about what is the information, where is it coming from, and how does it come together. Master data management and data quality solutions are really important, because that's the automation and enablement to bring that information together and really sort of reconcile what's going on across your vast ecosystem and network of data. Data management platforms offer a great opportunity here too, because more and more, as these data management platforms sit closer to your applications and your business processes and your customer engagement, they can actually consolidate a lot of the functionality and features from a master data management and quality capability into the actual database environment that you're going to use to connect to your customers. Next, you need data profiling and intelligence. Now, why do I put those together and why would I use the term intelligence? Well, data profiling helps you understand, am I reconciling my data appropriately? Is the data of the quality that I expect? Can I trust it for these types of use cases? Do I need more perfection? Do I need to protect around privacy and regulatory concerns? Do I have security concerns? Is it meeting certain corporate policies and definitions? So there's a lot of that governance compliance that goes in, but it's not intelligent, and you can't make that useful unless you connect the dots between what are those policies that you have for your data and how quantitatively that data is meeting those policies, and are you able to communicate around that, and are you able to take action around that? And then lastly, you need a strategic sourcing strategy. Your sources of data are going to be what you have internally across your entire ecosystem, as well as really understanding how data and process flow together so that you can see different parts of the organization and start bringing the data together a way to kind of debunk those silos and really pull down those walls between those silos. You want to go externally. What data don't you have, but still really important to understand about customers and market? And that's part of your strategic sourcing strategy. But then when you bring that data in, how does it reconcile through your MDM and data quality, your platform policies, and then your overall governance practices? The curation process still really needs to be there. That's part of strategic sourcing. And then lastly, we're also starting to get into the realm where you're using internal and external data sources for machine learning, that you actually are now creating synthetic data sets to help plug the gaps in areas where it's really hard to get that information. And so not only is it sourcing to help build those data sets, but now incorporating and managing those synthetic data sets to get value out of them. So we've talked about perform. Now we're about organize. So organization is about aligning the customer to the customer journey. If you want to be simple, this is huge. Look at it at a high level. It'll tell you all you need, all those, nooks and crannies of your data and your business processes, your customer engagement, all of that happens in a customer journey. And when we complain about our data and we complain about experiences, more often than not, it's a data problem. It's a problem with the quality of the information. It's a problem with the way that you need to input information. It's a quality in the way that you can visualize that information in the environment that you have. So as we take a look at a company like Nationwide, as they represented their customer journey around claims, they're then balancing what are the biggest pain points within that area. That gives them a framework and a roadmap in terms of where are the data quality and value spots that you really need to pay attention to, and how do you reconcile information? It's that intersection between data and business. You bring this together and you account for a lot of that data change that's happening because you're working with the data in context of your business. Now, next, what you want to be considering here is, again, from strategic sourcing, let's bring that down to a different level. It's not just where does the data come from, but what data is it? And the way that we go to market and understand and interpret our customers, we're using a lot of the traditional sources, we're using a lot of social sources, and we're using a lot of digital. We've got a whole bunch of channels out there. So instead of just saying that I'm getting it from the web, or I'm getting it from a search capability, or I'm getting it from my CRM system, really start to consider like what those specific domains are and what those domains represent. What is the value that they're bringing? A word of mouth gives you the voice of the customer. If you're looking at in-store information, you're seeing transactional and behaviors and traffic patterns that are happening within that environment. So you get a little bit, near-term behavioral capabilities. And if you're looking at the website, you can see a lot of interest within there. So all of these different sources pulled together, looking at them from the context of an insightful domain, helps you better understand, am I taking advantage of all the data that I have available to me? And then the third thing to think about is, where do I go? That strategic sourcing component, it really is about adaptive intelligence. And you want to be thinking about, the origination of the data, where you're handling and how you're managing client information, how you're analyzing information and turning insights into additional facts to incorporate, and going out and finding data with our data aggregators. Each one of these particular areas is representative of different commercial types of channels, but all of them together create that data ecosystem that's necessary to be successful in market. And some of them feed into each other as well. From a data aggregator perspective, they'll also provide insights on top of that data, so you can better create and maintain some of your customer segmentation. From an originator standpoint, there's a lot of information that's coming in that helps you understand behavior. And then lastly, on the data client side, this is where your partners and relationships really can work out together, where you're sharing information to go to market together, to be able to cross-sell and upsell. And ultimately, if you have a single platform that you're working off of, or able to share that in your CRM system, that's sort of the anchor point for how you're going to strategically source at a production and at scale. So lastly, what is the third thing we need to do? It's all about sustainability. So purpose and organize is like one aspect of it, and that's usually where we're starting from, and we get very project oriented in what we're doing. But we want to have continuous quality, continuous trust. So sustainability is really that cultural change, which is about, are you data literate? You want to have awareness, comprehension, expertise, and scale. Why is this all important? Data literacy is not just about how our data governance and data management teams aware and understand and interpret and architect the data. It's also important that your community of employees and your organization is aware of how to use data, how to get the best value out of it, when to use certain types of data, when not to use certain types of data. So how do we then, move that forward so that they recognize that value, they understand how the insights can help them, they know how to get continuous insights and having the skills to produce that. And lastly, how are you creating those experts to enable and scale so that it's reinforcing and driving a flywheel around data value and data literacy, reinforcing those best practices. So next, we want to consider defining what your data governance state is. If you're at an operational level, more than likely, you're really focused in that project mindset. So it's where the literacy component is really about, I've got challenges today, I need to fix them, for example, or the purpose is a data quality project, not customer experience or customer loyalty per se. It's very data focused. This isn't a bad place to start, and it's often where you are today. But I want to give you another perspective. Where do you take what you're doing now to get to sustainability? And that's where strategic and ambient capabilities really come in. So your strategic governance state and the target to get to there is when your business leaders and stakeholders, if you have a chief data officer or a chief digital officer, is thinking about the solutions and intelligent solutions that are going to run your business and create better value and relationships with your customers, your data and your process really come together, as we talked about in that nationwide example. This is where you're managing to the way that data is changing, but not just because of the way that you see it in your systems, because you're also reconciling that with the changes in your business and how decisions are being made. Executive leadership is really key here. So your data literacy program needs to lift up from your employees and operational and management teams all the way to the highest levels of your organization, which is usually defined by the fact that somebody is in that role to help with that top-down strategic approach. So strategic is both strategic plus operational, top-down, bottom-up. Ambient gets a little bit more interesting because as you get really good on the strategic side, you're really thinking about how do you work with data in an embedded fashion? Who's in your CRM system? Who's in your marketing automation system? Who's managing your websites and your web accounts? How are you automating business processes? For example, what does order to cash look like? Because you're able to align data and process, you can now think about one, hyperscaling your automation, being much more strategic in the sourcing of data so that you're able to really pinpoint what and why you need certain types of information. And then lastly, the literacy of your organization means that those working in your solutions or at your engagement areas at the edge of your business are also incorporating stewardship and custodian activities on the data as they work. So you're not shunting off a lot of activity to manage and maintain and trust the data to some centralized bureaucratic pillar that sits on the side of your business. In an ambient state, the ability to manage and govern data sits within the business itself with some key experts and guides to help continuously lead the way. Next, we want to look at how do you know where you're at? And Forrester has a nice way of kind of saying, are you operational? Are you strategic? Or are you ambient? And really starting to tease out if you're looking at, you know, the purpose of your data, what is your culture around that data, and how are you using that data in terms of taking actions for each one of these 6 dimensions within these areas. It gives you a pretty good understanding. Are you more project focused? Are you more top-down focused? Or have you found a nice balance and blending between people, process, technology, and culture to make your data work for your organization? And then next. And then lastly, architect your data for sustainability to your business itself. So taking that nationwide example and really looking at it in terms of mastery from the process and the enablement layer, really considering the experience that you get from data so that as you move to strategic and ambient states, you're really tuning that user experience and user interface to facilitate the way that you're working with the data and providing stepping stones for automation and new data sources that are going to be made available. Then you can start to attach what are those integration subject areas. We talked about that before in terms of the purpose where you're looking at all of the different types of information and where that strategic sourcing example comes in. And then you can start thinking about what is my foundation of data systems and how do I take advantage of this? Why it's important to go from process to data is that if you don't have an understanding about those use cases and that experience and the speed to which you need to use that information and the trust you need to use that information, it's very hard for your technology counterparts to figure out, should I move the data? Should I copy the data? Do I aggregate the data? Do I give you your own space for it? Or can I give you, you know, sort of a revolving access around different sources? We have a lot more options than a data warehouse today, and how we serve data and give it value. So much more attention right now is focused on that business process and insight utilization to make your investments in your platform and your external sources of purchase data to purchase is right sized for what you're trying to achieve. So we get back to simple. Pick your process journey, map data to process and systems, really model data mastery across your business processes, your governance processes, and your IT enablement so you can see the nirvana of an ambient system. You want to execute inside a pilot. Do it a little small at first. Get better at it. You know, use a project that you're about ready to put in flight and practice some of these new techniques that I've provided. And then ultimately, for literacy, you've got to communicate, train, embed that pilot framework into the business. So really taking that learnings of the pilot and translating that into the literacy and the best practices that are going to occur. And that gets you to simple, that gets you sustainability. And ultimately, no matter what changes within your business environment, your data is always either leading you there or supporting you along the way. So thank you. I'm going to hand over to Dennis, and he's going to follow up on some additional pieces to consider to making data simple.
Thank you, Michelle. Great presentation. I think lots to think about for our audience here. And you know, we at Dun & Bradstreet certainly wake up every day and come to work to help data leaders like you all on this call to help you fuel growth and focus on getting a trusted view of your customers and your prospects in your systems of record. And that's our mission is to give you a consistent view of your customers across your tech stack. So no matter where your system of record is, if it's a data lake, perhaps you have a master data management platform, a CRM, we are empowering our customers to get access to our world-class industry-leading database of 400 million or so business-to-business relationships and records, and delivering that in formats and layouts that you need to get your systems of record up to date, whether that's an API feed, whether that's a file delivery, or using some of our easy-to-use software. We have the answer for your data management challenges. And we're really excited to announce the launch of D&B Connect as a new way to simplify data management for your organization. It's the easiest and fastest access to trusted data on your customers. It will help you visualize and assess your current data health. So talk a little bit about how it helps you assess the gaps that you might have in your data, how many duplicates you might have. Also helps you access our 2,500 or so insights on those businesses to help you enrich your records, so get the intelligence that you need to make better decisions, and ultimately keep those systems of record up to date, right? So you have a trusted source for data to quickly bounce up your records and get your data clean, complete, and actionable. So a couple of things that set D&B Connect as a solution apart from others is obviously the unparalleled quality of insights that Dun Bradstreet has to offer. We are continually monitoring and looking at the business landscape to make sure that all the changes on address, industry, mergers and acquisitions, ownership changes are continually updated in our database so that you can quickly update your records and be on your way. We've also built our best-in-class identity resolution engine into this UI, so it quickly enables you to match your customer data against Dun & Bradstreet data and resolve any duplicates or discrepancies and append all the information that you might need for your customers onto your record. So we'll showcase this in a demonstration that we'll be showing in just a moment or so. And we've built this platform on an enterprise-grade platform. It's able to handle millions of records at a time. So no matter how big your data challenges are, you can quickly load those records in, get them enriched, and push them back into your systems of record. We're also SOC 2 compliant, CCPA and GDPR compliance we take very seriously, as we know that most data leaders are really concerned about that. And we've wrapped around our services team around this as well. So if you're not familiar with Dun & Bradstreet data, you're not familiar with our matching, not familiar with the insights we have to offer, we have a deep bench of experts that have about 10 years of industry experience that can help you implement D&B data into your systems to get what you need from us. So I wanted to quickly queue up a typical workflow that we might go through in the D&B Connect platform, just to show you the power and the use cases that it supports. So I'm going to be queuing up a quick video here. We'll go through the demonstration, and then we'll come back for some questions and answers. So I'm going to go ahead and log into D&B Connect here. And before I begin, at a very high level, D&B Connect helps data leaders and revenue operations leaders with their data quality and data governance initiatives by providing easy access to trusted customer data from the Dun & Bradstreet Data Cloud to clean, enrich, and maintain their systems of record to get a consolidated and complete view of their customers. So when you first log in to D&B Connect, you'll be presented with an overall dashboard that shows a cumulative view of all data cleaning projects you've run in the past. This dashboard helps you visualize and assess your overall data health for your organization. The dashboard consists of 4 primary tiles and insights into your data health. First, the total number of records you've submitted and associated fill rate of key data elements like company name, country, address, and phone. The geographical distribution of your customer data and where your customer records are located. The confidence at which D&B has been matching to your data, and how many unique versus duplicate records exist in your data. And over time, these statistics will change based on the data projects that you've run through the system. And as you scroll down, you'll see a past history of all the different data projects that you've run through the system. And you can easily search and filter these based on their name, so you can reference the insights and details in each one separately. I can also hover over to the user dashboard and invite different users to help collaborate on different data management projects. I can give different access levels to certain users based on the sensitivity of the projects that I am running. And overall, D&B Connect essentially allows you to take control with self-serve data management, which reduces workflows that can take days into a matter of hours. So let's go through a sample project by hitting Create New Project in the top right. So let's run a sample file through here. Let's say I have a list of customer accounts that I've pulled from my data lake, which is missing key elements such as industry, number of employees, annual revenue, and the DUNS number. So this is the file that I'm going to run through the system. I'm going to give the project a name, and I'm going to call it Data Lake Enrichment. And I'm going to say I want to append key data elements to this file. As mentioned before, I can add specific project members. So I'm going to add John Smith to this one. And then I click Next. I'm going to give my source a name. I'm going to call it Data Lake. And all I need to do is just drag and drop my file into the dialog box. It will give me a preview of the file that I have uploaded. You can also upload a file through an Amazon S3 bucket. And the system is very robust and can handle millions of records at a time. Obviously, for Excel, you have a limit of about 1 million, but you can go above that limit if you're using an Amazon S3 upload process. So I'm going to quickly confirm my upload. Then I'm presenting the data mapping screen. And the beauty of this step is that the system is using machine learning algorithms to automatically map your column headers to Dun Bradstreet's company information required to get a match. The minimum 2 fields that you need to get a match are company name and also the country. And you can select these and change these if they are mapped incorrectly, but it looks like most of my column headers have accurately mapped to the associated Dun & Bradstreet information. So I'm going to quickly hit the Next button. Then it will ask me to confirm the data types. So here you can change the types of values that are associated with your data. I'm going to keep them all as text fields for now and hit Next. On this screen, I get to configure my match rules. One of the things that sets Dun & Bradstreet's matching engine apart is that it provides transparency in how matches are selected and a tunable output based on your desired match criteria. And also, the identity resolution engine will continually learn from your data management projects and optimize your match rate. There are 2 different ways to approach matching, simple and advanced. In the simple version, I just get to select a high or low confidence code to maximize my match rate. The system will default to a 6. You can also add and save different match rules for use later, saving you time. If I hit the advanced settings dialog box, it will show me a country selection, which geographies to match to in the data cloud essentially. I'm going to keep all the countries for this demonstration. In the match quality dialog box, I can either enter a match string manually, so looking at business name, street, city, state, and which of those fields should be an exact match, a similar match, or potentially to exclude from matching. I'm going to use the easy match string setup and select a similar match for all of these input columns. And I can also select my inclusion criteria. So from the Dun & Bradstreet Data Cloud, do I want to match to non-headquarter locations, out of business, unreachable locations, undeliverable, or non-marketable? So I'm going to select all of these, and in the return file, it will also allow me to see which one of my records might be classified as out of business, undeliverable, or non-marketable per Dun & Bradstreet sources. So I'm going to hit Next. In the enrich stage, I get to select which data elements I want to append to my data file. Now, the beauty of this section is that it's highly configurable and tailored to your needs. So you can select specific data elements from up to 2,500 data attributes available from the Dun & Bradstreet Data Cloud to append to your data. This demonstration shows me 3 fields that I can search: base information. I click that and I'll hit Add Elements. I want to append the primary business name and DUNS number. I'm just going to select all for this one. Company information. I'm going to hit add elements. Again, I can search for different data elements in here. So for instance, if I select employees, I can select number of employees value and only append that if I want to. For the purposes of this, I'm going to select all and hit done. And same for the company entity resolution. So I'll hit add elements here, and this will give me an associated match confidence code, match DUNS number, match score with all the different rows of data that I've submitted. I'm going to select all, hit done, and click next. And the final stage is just a quick project summary, just to confirm that you've selected all the right settings. You can go back and alter or change any of these if you've missed something. But for this, it looks good. I'm going to hit complete my setup. And once you hit that, the project will submit for processing. You can expect to return your data projects within the same day. The system is incredibly fast. So I'm going to go back to my overview. So after I hit complete setup and the system is processing my file, I can scroll down and click on the project that I have submitted to check the status at any time. If I scroll down, it will provide me with the status of that project. Currently it's ingesting and 20% completed. I can also scroll further down and get timestamps of when the file was received, ingested, enriched, and analyzed. For this demonstration, I've actually run the same file prior to this, and I'm just going to take a look at what that match rate looks like and what the summary of my project is. So if I click on that dialog box, it will show me how many records I've submitted. So I've submitted 1,500 records. It's telling me what the input file looked like. So it had the country, it had address, city. Primarily what I was looking for was industry, employees, and revenue. So if I scroll down, it will tell me what the match rate was. It was 99% match rate. It will give me a distribution of what the confidence code of all the matches were. So it seems like 98% of the data that was matched was at a high match rate. And if I hover over these different codes, it will show me how many records were matched at different confidence levels. It seems I did not have any duplicates in my file. All of them were unique records, which is good news. And all the data was US based. If I scroll down, I can quickly access the results by hitting the download results button here. And when I hit download results, I'm presented with a dialog box where I can select which data to download, either the matched and enriched file, records that weren't matched, the input file that I submitted, or the error file. So for this demonstration, I'm going to hit the matched and enriched file. I'm going to hit download, and that will download the data onto my desktop. When I open the matched and enriched file, I see the records that I have submitted on the left, and I've actually highlighted the key data elements that I wanted to append to my file, which includes DUNS number, industry, revenue, and employees. And you'll see that data has been appended, and now I can make better decisions on how to segment this data, how to route these records to the right salespeople, and also ensure that my data lake has the most complete data on my customers to get a consistent view across other systems that I might be pushing this data to, such as customer data platforms, CRM systems, ERP systems, or other systems of record. So to summarize, D&B Connect helps data leaders and revenue operations drive efficiency and value by providing easy access to trusted customer data from Dun Bradstreet to clean, enrich, and then maintain systems of record. All right. Thank you, everyone, for walking through that demonstration with us. As a special offer to everyone that's on the call today, we are offering a free trial of D&B Connect. So if you'd like to take advantage of that, you'll be able to upload up to 10,000 records into the platform, enrich them, and export up to 1,000 records where you'll be able to see additional data that's important to you. You'll be able to see how your data has changed, how many duplicates you have, and additional insights from the Dun Bradstreet Data Cloud. And this is available to up to 50 users across your data governance or data management team. So with that, I'll kick it back to Michele for some closing thoughts, and then we'll take Q&A.
Yeah, so I mean, again, to get to simple, it's all about prepare, organize, sustain. It's really, in order to do that, think about it without, overthinking it, which is really about where does data meet business and where does business meet data, and find out how to close those gaps. And ultimately, as what Dennis was showing too, don't forget the monitoring and measuring, because all of that intelligence really helps you to understand and interpret what types of actions that you need to take, either strategically and proactively or reactively as your business is evolving. So at this point, let's talk about Q&A. What questions can we answer for you?
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Michele and Dennis, both. We had a couple different questions come in, so I'll go ahead and kick that off. So the first question was, is there integration to the Microsoft Dynamics platform? So Dennis, I feel like this one might be for you.
Yeah, good question. Direct integration into the platform isn't available at this time, but it is on our roadmap to integrate that next year. Right now, the system can handle an Amazon S3 upload download or a CSV upload download process.
Great, thank you. The next question is, what is powering the identity resolution within D&B Connect? Is this an offline resolution?
Good question. So that is our patented identity resolution engine. So it's basically our Dun's Right matching engine that's using that, and it's all been brought into the cloud. It's a secure environment where you'll be able to match to our database and then be able to enrich your records within the platform.
Great, that sounds good. And then we had another question about the integrations. What are the integrations available within D&B Connect? Is this only for data management, or can I also integrate with my existing DMP?
So as I mentioned before, the system allows for an Amazon S3 process where you can drop it into an S3 bucket, and the system will automatically process and send it back, or you can download a CSV file. We are looking to expand the direct integrations into the platform next year, but a DMP currently is not on the list. But you can certainly bring it in through an Amazon S3 or file.
That sounds good. And then is D&B Connect cloud-based?
Yes, it is. It's all built on the cloud, and it's all built on our data cloud as well. So everything will be, secure in a secure environment. We're CCPA GDPR compliant. We have a SOC 2 compliance certificate. If you want more details, we can certainly provide that after the call, but it's all cloud-based.
That sounds good. When you submit a file or project, does it append that to any previously submitted files or results, or is each submission independent?
So when you upload a file as a source, you can basically select the data elements that you want to append to that file. So as I showed towards the end of the demonstration, you will have your input columns on the left, and then anything that you select from the Dun Bradstreet Data Cloud will be appended on the right-hand side of those rows. And you can select the ones that you want to keep or reject, but the platform will essentially add all the enrichment fields to your data source.
Sounds good. We had another one that was, how does a user maintain the data over time? Are users recommended to resubmit records to pick up changes that D&B has made to the data?
That's a great question. So that's more of a monitoring for change use case that is not available in our GA release, but it is releasing in 2021. Certainly part of our roadmap is to keep those changes dynamic. But that being said, if you upload a file to an Amazon S3 bucket, the system can quickly rerun that file, so you won't have to go through all the steps to configure your matching rules and your input records. So as soon as you drop in a file there, the system will automatically process it and send it back. But we are implementing a monitoring capability next year.
Great, thank you. Another question is, how is this different from D&B Optimizer, which is another data management solution from Dun Bradstreet?
Good question. Good question. So our integrated solutions, so perhaps Optimizer for Salesforce or Optimizer for Microsoft, are native solutions within the CRM ecosystem. So being a native application has some limitations in the amount of data that we can append to your records. Some of those layouts are about 100 or so data elements. So the difference here is with D&B Connect, we can actually empower you with the full breadth and depth of the Dun Bradstreet Data Cloud. So you'll see much more data beyond the 100 or so elements you're able to append in CRM with Optimizer. And you have flexibility, right? So you can create your own layout and pick and choose the data elements that matter to you versus sort of a predefined list of 100 attributes. So that the platform provides, more data, more flexibility, and ability to sort of enrich the much higher scale of volume of data as well.
Great. All right. There was another question from Steve on what is the pricing model. And Steve, if you would like to go to dnb.com/connect, that'll take you to the free trial. Or if you would, like to reach out directly to your Dun & Bradstreet representative or Dennis or I, we can get into the pricing model and details for you. I definitely think that will probably be custom to the, needs that you have. We had a couple more here, and I think that one of these is probably for you, Michele. So are any of the segments of the Forrester Maturity Assessment more important than others? And then the second part of the question is it necessary to maximize all segments in order to have a chance at success?
So in answer to the last question, no, you don't have to master everything to have success. But there isn't one area, one category segment that's more important than the other. And the reason why is you want to, all of those different elements within purpose, culture, and action reflect into each other. So you really want to try to not have scoring all the way down at the bottom or all the way down at the top. You want to start to kind of level them off and create some equality around them. It's more a reflection of basically, you can't expect to go from operational to ambient overnight. But you can make steps between operational in each one of those categories that could be more important. For example, to go from project to strategic, something that's going to be really clear there is how are you measuring and monitoring the data in context of the business or any other sort of measurements to know what that value is. You probably already have some metrics that are happening from an operational perspective. You're now just looking to instrument on top of that and take them to the next level. And you know that that's going to relate to actions being taken out of the culture to say, okay, well, now that I know this, is this a people, process, or technology challenge? So some organizations have some really good technical foundations. You don't have to be worrying about that. But oftentimes it's the people and the process component that either need more enablement or you want to take things away and put them into more of an automated fashion. So I wish it was a simple answer to say yes, no, but really your culture at your company and what you place value on your data for is really going to ultimately determine which one of those areas and elements is going to help you to get to the next state. I would say if you're scoring 5 out of 6 in each one of those categories at different levels, that kind of tells you exactly where you're at. And if you're scoring highly in like 3 of those areas, you have the opportunity to go from the level that you're at to the next level that's available to you. That's the way that I would think about it.
Sounds good. Thank you. Okay. We have another question, Dennis. I think that this one might be for you, is how are mailing addresses validated? Do they conform to USPS, Google Maps?
Good question. So a lot of the identity data that we collect are curated from really thousands of sources that are both publicly available and also proprietary to Dun & Bradstreet. So I'll give a couple of examples. We use web crawling. We use postal address data was one of them that I think you mentioned as well. That's a source. So there's not really one given source. We're taking multiple sources and trying to aggregate it for you. Another one that's proprietary to Dun Bradstreet is our trade credit data. So a lot of businesses, when they're first starting out, in order to establish a credit file, will need to request a DUNS number from Dun & Bradstreet. And as part of that due diligence process, we get a lot of the data self-reported from organizations. So that's sort of delivered from the organization to us to establish that file, and we keep that file updated and monitored. So there's thousands of sources that we're using to validate that data, and we're continually updating that. So there's no real one source, but you can sort of rest assured that we're scraping and scouring the whole ecosystem of where that data is available to kind of get to the truth.
Great. Okay, and then another question that we had come in was, how do we decide which data we don't have but we actually need? It seems there's a step of identifying the gaps, but when should that happen? So I feel like Dennis and Michele, you guys probably both have a point of view on that one.
Yeah, I mean, so from my perspective, you know, I like to bucket it into three major buckets. First of them being identity data. Are you trying to answer the problem of who is this account, right? In that case, you might want to look for some basic information like where are they located, what's their industry, how big are they, right? So that's the first bucket. The second being, are you trying to derive some sort of intelligence on that account as it relates to your go-to-market, right? So are they a decision-making location? Are they growing? Are they investing in certain products that are relevant to your services, right? That's sort of the intelligence layer. You might need some data around that. And the final one is really around engagement, right? So are they currently on your website? When's the last time they visited your property? Have they been, you know, responding to your email campaigns? That kind of data is also quite important. But again, it depends on what problem you're trying to solve. Michele, I think you laid out a really good example of the buyer journey, right? Or the customer journey as a way to assess the gaps in what data you might need. So maybe you can elaborate on that one.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, certainly within B2B settings, there's also some, you know, sort of additional intelligence that you're looking for. What type of competitive intelligence or external market intelligence can you bring in? So is it, you know, in terms of competitors' growth, new product entry, you know, where preferences are from your buyers in terms of the types of products and services that they have, and the footprints that exists within their business. So really that sort of competitor lens can be augmented both from Dun & Bradstreet sources, but other sources that are available out there. The other consideration is, you know, really thinking about what are some of the general market dynamics that are going on right now. I mean, we've seen certainly from the, you know, the blow up of the year 2020, you know, everything just, you know, what was, you know, the top is bottom and bottom is top right now, that, you know, what potential data elements or data sources can you use that you should be tracking that you know have this tangential impact on where your business is going, and how does that relate to what you know about a customer? So if you take companies like Walmart, for example, within their store, they're not just tracking what goes on with their products and their inventory and the operations and their customers, but they're also taking a look at, you know, what sort of events are going on, what is the weather for the day, you know, how are you know, how are traffic patterns changing if things are being worked on for the roads, all those different sources. That, so really what you're trying to do is create, it's even more than a digital twin of the representation. You're really trying to almost recreate this hologram of your organization, so and your engagement with the customer. So thinking about those sources, adding a competitive perspective, and just handling a broader ecosystem perspective of where your business operates, just gives you a little bit more of a window in terms of what's going on, to be pretty flexible and resilient to how things are going to shift.
That's great. All right, we do have one other question, and it is, how can this be leveraged by governments? So Dennis, I think that probably goes to you by, you know, data management for governments. I think that there's a lot to unpack there.
Well, I'll be the first one to admit that it's not my area of expertise, but we certainly do work with government agencies just to establish what businesses exist within a particular municipal area, right, or a location or a district. We've also helped, you know, government organizations understand the makeup of the different industries that are present within their specific districts, whether businesses are growing, whether big businesses are expanding, what's the presence of commerce within a location. And we certainly have a lot of that intelligence that we can append to a particular district that's of relevance to you. So take, Boston, our organizations within a particular industry, are they growing? Is there new business activity spurring in some locations as part of economic development efforts? So there's a bunch of use cases that we've helped government agencies with, but we'd certainly be, more than happy to dig into that in more detail with someone that's an expert in that.
Well, great. Well, I think that is really all of our questions today. So, with that, again, I just wanted to thank you, Michele, and thank you, Dennis, so much for, your expertise and your insight. I thought that this was, a great overview of data management and master data best practices, a lot of insights there. And Dennis, thank you so much for reviewing D&B Connect. Do you guys have any final comments that you wanted to add in before we end?
Go ahead, Michele, do you have anything?
Love your data. That's it.
Yeah, make it simple.
Exactly. Love your data. Make it simple.
Sounds good. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
You too.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.